Then and now, we got the crown when we rock the town. Hot sound keep us breaking ground while we chillin' lounge. 3 generations, black nerd soldiers, podcast snipers trying to pop culture. Allegedly, haters try to talk, but a pedigree in rare form.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Then and Now podcast.
You're listening to the Then and Now podcast.
I am your co-host, Captain Diesel, and I am joined with the illustrious co-host, Professor E. King of the Comics, Ethan Murphy, and the Big Black Muffin, a.k.a. the God of War of comic books, a.k.a. Lelouch V. How are you doing today, my brother?
We're not making any of those canon. And I'm annoyed as shit, honestly. It's cold. I'm comfortably wearing a heavy ass, blur Sherpa indoors comfortably with a hat on, and I'm still a little chilly for one. And then two, I just went to a rap show that was supposed to start at 2:00. I got there at 2:30. The actual artist didn't show up until like 5:30. And I still didn't get a chance to see the person that I actually was there for. So I'm big annoyed. But besides that, decent,
But he was on extreme CPT. Jesus Christ.
Even for CPT, that's bad. That's bad for CPT.
Like, bro, if I was a sponsor on that event, I'm taking all my money back and some of theirs. I'm mad.
Yeah.
No, that's not good.
Was the artist you were waiting for, was he the headliner? Or where the other acts are performing from 2 up until 5? Or?
Yeah, he's essentially the headliner. I mean, he's not slated as it, but like all the people that came to actually watch the show were his fans. So
of course, yeah. And
Jesus Christ.
Shout out to C Saint, but nigga, get y'all shit together, because ain't no fucking way, if I am a big fan of this or if I am a sponsor of this, I'm funding that shit. So figure that shit out.
Professor E?
I'm sorry you're going through that, Brody. I'm at the opposite end of the spectrum. I am doing great. No, I did not go out to a rap show. No, I am not in Buffalo with Otis in his wonderful home. But I am actually inside my dwelling in Los Angeles, and I just finished a big old script that took me over a week to write. I was losing my brain trying to write it, figure out how to make it work. Charlie was there. I showed some of it to Charlie, and Charlie's like, yo, man, you need to fix this, and this. I was like, you're right, 100% right. So I am aces. I'm going to get a big old fat burger after this podcast, pass out from itis, and I'll be good. I am good.
I don't think it went quite like that, but it's something along those lines.
Paraphrasing.
And I'm doing good too, man. I'm excited to get into this episode. We have some interesting stuff that is going to be exciting to talk about, and for me, a little depressing. But we're gonna talk about it nonetheless, y'all. We're gonna get into this stuff. But we're gonna start with the main thing, the big thing that's going to kind of give me a little bit of sorrow, because it's one of those situations to where I really wish celebrities, didn't speak as much. I wish it was kind of like back in the day where you didn't know too much about them and the mystique was around, because we are at a point now to where people talk too much and it shows a lot more of who you are. And we can't just ignore you and only like the art. We have to take you for who you are. And for people that are wondering who that is or what that is, it is one of the most illustrious writers, directors in cinema, Mr. Quentin Tarantino. So for people that are not aware of what's going on, Tarantino found himself in hot water recently because he was on the Bryson Ellis something podcast. I'm not sure who Buddy's name is, but
Bret Easton Ellis.
Thank you. It seems like he's been around for a while, and he gets like big guests on there. So I'm not sure if he's just a journalist or what his connection is to Hollywood, but he gets some pretty solid guests. And in a recent episode with that, they were asking Tarantino to list his top 20 or top 25 movies of like the last decade or 20 century. I don't remember what the time frame was, but along that list, he got to a movie that he put on that list, Let There Be Blood. And in talking about Let There Be Blood, he had this to say. Let me bring this up for people.
Now, I would say, though, There Will Be Blood would stand a better chance to be in number 1 or number 2 if it didn't have a big giant flaw in it. And the flaw is Paul Dano. Obviously, it's supposed to be a two-hander, and it's also so drastically obvious that it's not a two-hander. He is weak sauce, man. He's a weak sister. He's just such a weak, uninteresting guy.
You will be cast up.
We're going to stop that there because copyrights. But alongside of that, you know, he had different issues with not only Paul Dano, but he also had things in choice words to say about Owen Wilson as well as Matthew Lillard. And, you know, that led me down a rabbit hole of kind of looking at a bunch of different things that people have had issues with in regards to Tarantino over the years and the way he's acted. So I did a little digging and found some other clips that, you know, before we get into discussing the situation in Tarantino as a whole, I wanted to kind of present these to the audience so they can see these things. First off, we're going to be starting with a lot of the issue that mostly Black people have had with Tarantino for a while and how he's gone about, you know, using the N-word in his films. And he was asked that directly in an interview at one point, and this was a response that he gave.
You've taken the liberty of using the word nigger in a lot of pictures. I think you use it like truthfully in the script. What gave you the courage to do so? I mean, I know it's like a lot of critics are saying that it seems like courageous for you to be able to put that in there and say, as a filmmaker, I'm going to put truth to the script.
You know, the situation with me is each situation I've ever done, it's just been to the truth of the characters. And here it's also the truth of the characters and the truth of the time period. In this case, nobody's actually suggesting that they didn't say it that much in 1858 in Mississippi.
Right.
All right. That would be ridiculous. They're not even saying this, but they're saying maybe I should have cleaned it up. Well, that's just not what I do. Right. I don't clean it up. There's film criticism and there's social criticism. And the people who complained about my use of that are been social critics. And I have to say, there's not one iota of social criticism that has ever been leveled my way that has changed one word of any other script I've written or any scenario I've ever done. It's my job to ignore them and to not pay attention to them because I believe in what I'm doing wholeheartedly and passionately. And it's my job to just get on with it.
So we have one more clip here. And this was a clip really so looking at instance he had during the promotion of Django Unchained where he was on BET.
I just watched a clip on the internet of Quentin Tarantino talking about Django. It's wild.
He code switches hard.
He was on BET and he code switched harder than anyone you've ever seen in your life in a bad, like he's not good at code switching.
Now, I'm not that computer savvy. So if he had sent me something that I plug into my computer, I don't know if I would have ever heard it. All right. Hey, download this. I don't know how to.
Accent,
all right. You know, so he put it on a cassette tape. Then Jamie, my man. Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. Goes to the BET Awards. Rick Ross and the whole.
Just suddenly became
we all got contact high on the.
He's like, so damn, my man Jamie came through.
Yeah, what?
Yeah, that pretty much says it. And the last thing I have here, and I meant to say this earlier, is the response that Matthew Lillard gave to the criticism that he had from Tarantino at a convention or something that he was speaking at.
Quentin Tarantino this week said he didn't like me as an actor. Yeah, whatever. Who gives a shit? Listen. The point is that it hurts your feelings. It fucking sucks. And he wouldn't say that to Tom Cruise. He wouldn't say that to somebody who's a top line actor in Hollywood. I'm very popular in this room. I'm not very popular in Hollywood. Two totally different microcosms, right? And so, you know, it's humbling and it hurts. So, thank you.
So that's all I have for now. I have some thoughts, but I want to hear you guys' reaction to the whole situation before I give what I have to say.
I mean,
so
go ahead.
You want to go first or want me to go first?
I saw you.
Okay. So there's so many thoughts. I'll keep it as brief as possible so we can all kind of have a good old fashioned round robin with this. But historically, Tarantino has been the poster boy for hubris. That man's ego doesn't care about anybody. He's been notorious for being difficult to interview. He takes pride in being outspoken. You just saw him talking about generously using the N-word since back in the day in Reservoir Dogs up to, of course, Pulp Fiction and Django and everything else. And his defense has always been the characters use this. The characters use this. So that's one thing. Him talking about Paul Dano and Matthew Lillard and Owen Wilson, for him to just kind of punch down, it's a punch down, because Tarantino obviously has a lot of cachet in the world of Hollywood amongst fans in general. His name is very prolific. For him to punch down out of nowhere, out of nowhere on Paul Dano and Matthew Lillard and Owen Wilson is bizarre, and there's no reality which he would ever try to apologize for it. He almost if you actually listen to the clip, like you just played from the Bret Easton Ellis show, he does come across like a bully, basically, and which he oftentimes does in interviews. And he has the right to do as he sees fit. More power to you, but it's a bad look, man. It's a bad look. You know, we try, all of us here. I would say all of us here, except for maybe Otis's cat. We are artists, right? And as artists, we can try to sympathize or empathize with other artists, but there are times when you have to be able to separate art from the artist. That happens too, and it's not always easy to do. It's not always easy to just simply say, "Hey, this asshole said something stupid, but I love what he made over here, so I'm gonna go ahead and just separate the two." Sometimes you have to be like, "Look, man, it's getting harder and harder to put up with your mouth, regardless of how much I may enjoy watching one of your films." So,
yeah, I mean, well, there's a lot to unpack here. Well, going back to Charlie's statement earlier about like wishing when back in the days where our famous people kept their mouth shut and kept to themselves and stuff to the closet. I honestly kind of prefer them out themselves because otherwise we end up with like Kevin Spacey and Epstein Island and things like that. So if you want to tell on yourself, go ahead and do it. Two, well, I mean, and this is my feelings on it, so it doesn't reflect the entire Then and Now podcast. But I mean, personally, I've always felt Tarantino's films were really pretentious and kind of full of themselves. Like they have good moments, are well cinematographed. They're well cinematographed, as in they look visually striking. They're filmed extremely well, but like they're kind of overrated. Also absorbently long, giving us information that doesn't necessarily actually add to the premise. It's just like it's just wasted conversation and added depth for no reason, in my personal opinion. I've never been the biggest fan of him, so like seeing him trying to attack actors that I have been fans of, I don't take too kindly to. Matthew Lillard's been a centerpiece of like kind of like the horror community and it's kind of the nerd community since the Scream days. Owen Wilson, I mean, going back to the Shanghai Nights days to Zoolander, like I mean, it's just so many different films that like have been instrumental to like growing the cult culture of the nerd community. I've always had respect for them there, so like to attack them for no reason is kind of childish to me. Because it would be one thing if they were doing something in a negative direction towards you, said something badly towards you. This is retaliation in some way to use your station and your platform to attack, quote unquote smaller acts in the necros of Hollywood. But I don't know. I don't really care. Like like Tarantino's words have never really like affected me much or shaped my life. Like people love Kill Bill, people love I mean, I know you're a big fan of Django. I also think that one's kind of underrated too, especially like in the pantheon of so many black-led films, like showing like people rebelling against everything that was going on in that time period. Even finding out like through Jordan Peele's documentary is how much the West was like really dominated by black people and like how the fashion and like sense of Westerns really came from black people as well. I mean, I'm not lining up to see another Tarantino movie. You know what I'm saying? Like, so like what he says really doesn't like affect me too much in the long greater scheme of things. I just think that if anything, he might be doing this to kind of boost his own relevance because he just put out Kill Bill Volume 1 again and nobody cared about it. So like,
I can't say
it was
that.
called the Whole Bloody Affair.
Oh, yeah,
both parts, and some extra footage.
Yeah.
So Tarantino for me is over time made it more and more difficult for me to say I'm a fan of his works. I feel like initially my first introduction to him as a whole was it started off with Django. That was like the first one that I gave a chance before I dove into Kill Bill, into Hateful Eight, things of that nature. And the more I've learned about him over time, things start to make a little sense, but at the same time, it's not an excuse for how he goes about things. Mostly, I want to start with the aspect of the N-word usage and how he depicts Black people in film. Tarantino very much so seems as though he looks at Black people as just a part of an art form versus a culture as a whole. And part of what he say that is I was listening to some podcasts the other day, funny enough, a podcast that Ethan put me onto, and they were doing an episode on Django, and they were kind of talking about some of Tarantino's early life and like what brought him to who he was. And growing up, Tarantino had a single mother, and his mother dated a Black man at one point. And this Black man in the past would take him to different movie theaters to watch different Black exploitation films. So he would watch these movies centering Black people and also be in a room full of Black people and kind of seeing how they interacted, what the culture looked like, and things of that nature. So the fact that he depicts Black people relatively well in film, and when looking at something like a Django or any of the films that he's put Sam Jackson in, it goes to show how he got to that point. But in that same token, I think the nuance of what Black people are as a culture and why we would feel some type of way about that word being used over and over and over again, it kind of gets lost on him. Because of that, I think he solely sees it as the art form. I don't think Tarantino has many Black friends that are honestly true to him in regards to how that can be perceived. Because for you to see that criticism and see it only as a social criticism and not understand why people feel that way, it just goes to show who you are in that point. You're not an ally to Black people. We're still a form of art for you, or a form of money for you to make. Like we're a way for you to make money. Moving into the bullying aspect of things, to Otis's point, me being a very big horror fan, I love Matthew Lillard. From Scream to him, hell, Friday Night at Freddy's 2 just recently came out, and he was a big part of that. And from what I've heard, he's killed it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm a major fan of Owen Wilson. I think I've talked about it on this podcast a couple times, how one of the only films to ever make me cry was Marley and Me, a film that he was very prominent in. And then I grew up loving Night at the Museum, The Zoolander, seeing him in different films. A lot of my nerd films, the child, Owen Wilson was there. So loved him. Paul Dano, I'm not going to act like I'm a major fan of. I've seen him in the Batman movie as the Riddler, and I thought he did a pretty good performance there. But I'm not super familiar with all his works, or maybe I don't recognize the stuff that he's in. So me critiquing Tarantino is not in any way just me critiquing him for the sake of backing up other people that I enjoy. He is a bully, to Ethan's point. But I also feel like there is a bit of jealousy in that. And somebody brought a really good point forward that I really kind of agreed with and kind of looked at, was the idea that Tarantino doesn't like Paul Dano for the factor of he is who he wants to be. In the sense of Paul Dano is, and again, y'all just take this for what it is, unconventionally attractive man. He's not the conventionally attractive individual. And he was able to cut his own lane out in Hollywood and be a successful actor. He's not a Tom Cruise's or the Brad Pitts where they're the handsome leading guy, where they're able to get those roles easily. Paul Dano has to rely on a lot of his acting and his skill set. And I think Tarantino, for whatever reason, deep down wants to be an actor. And when you look at him inserting himself in all his films in significant ways, or even in his friends' films, you see that he wants to be an actor so bad. And for the most part, his acting is not in any way a highlight in any of his films. Mm-hmm. And he kind of overstays his welcome in a lot of his films. Even when you're looking at stuff like he didn't write From Dusk Till Dawn, but the fact that he was even a part of that was kind of I don't know. The scene that he wrote, he was not needed in that shit at all. Yeah. But why I say this too is a picture I found. I'm gonna show you guys real quick that perfectly encapsulates it, and it's almost on some fucking Family Guy shit here. It's a picture of looking at Tarantino just like eyeballing Paul Dano or whatever award show they're in. So you just feel the hate emanating off this man. Jesus now, Christ. At what point this hatred occurred, I don't know. I don't know if Paul Dano just refused to be in a script or a movie that Tarantino was directing, or if he was the reason that one of his films didn't get an award that he felt he should have gotten. I don't know. Sometimes people just hate for whatever reason. You don't really need a logical reason to hate on somebody. It's just that. No, go ahead.
There is a rumor. I saw this rumor online a couple of times that supposedly, it hasn't been substantiated, but supposedly in Inglourious Bastards, the role that BJ Novak plays, there's a rumor that originally Tarantino offered that to Paul Dano, and Paul Dano turned it down or rejected it or what have you. Again, this hasn't been officially confirmed. It's been mentioned a couple of times online. If that's the case, it would that picture you just showed clearly was from before this week, before Tarantino was on the interview in the podcast with Bret Easton Ellis. That is that look at his face. We've all that is a on the sight face I've ever seen one. He was Tarantino. That is pure malice.
That's 50 Cent level of hatred on his eyes.
Dano's enjoying his life, just doing his thing. I don't even think I'm pretty sure that premiere or wherever they were at wasn't like, to celebrate Dano and disparage Tarantino. Tarantino just took it upon himself to look over at Paul Dano and hate for haters' sake. Haters ball supreme. So that is wild, man. Just to back what you're saying there, Charlie, there's something else going on there. I hadn't heard the idea that maybe he was hating on him as far as, you are an artist, an actual actor that can do essentially what I can't do. You found a way to use your own charm and your own skill on a level that I don't have, and therefore I will hate you for that. Real quick, slight tangent. It's similar to Diddy. If y'all
Diddy
know
and Tupac,
Diddy,
yes. Like I was thinking that the entire time. I was like, this definitely sounds like Diddy and Tupac.
Yeah.
Shout out to 50.
Okay, yeah. Well, I won't say it too long, but it's kind of the same idea as far as like, yo, man, why are you spending so much effort trying to get Tupac and Biggie? Oh, because you don't have the skills yourself. Gotcha. You're hating. You're hating. I got you. And of course, hating on Diddy himself. But anyways, people that are going to hate, whether you be 50 Cent making a documentary for numerous years hating on Diddy, whether you be Diddy hating on Tupac and Biggie, whether you be Tarantino hating on Dano and Wilson and Lillard, it is Otis. You're right. It is small-minded and unnecessary. What the hell are y'all doing? Get over it. Again, these are two rich-ass white men in America. They're fine. All of them are fine. Mm-hmm. They're all fine. But it does reflect very, 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 very poorly on Tarantino to be doing this nonsense.
It's very odd because why are you jealous? You're touted as, for a lot of people, one of the best screenwriters and directors of the generation. Like a lot of people put you on that pedestal.
Academy Award winner.
Like you got Academy Awards. Like you have all the accolades possible to be a good filmmaker, and then you've worked with some of the biggest names in Hollywood possible. So I'm just like, I don't understand. So part of me is like, I'm not mad at him giving a criticism because obviously he's no different from us on this podcast. He feels a particular type of way about a particular actor and the way they act. We all have our particular actors like that. Otis is Paul Rudd. I don't think I'm thinking of it. I'm thinking
Chris. What's the one that was in Guardians? Chris Pratt. Yeah, there's a list.
I don't think I have anybody I hate per se. I think I have roles they've been in I don't enjoy.
It's mostly
so here's the thing. I don't mean to take it a turn. Otis has never come on here and be like attacked vehemently Christian Bale or this kind of said all kinds of personal things. Like that was personal venom that Tarantino was spewing about.
Yeah, he did the most.
That was a lot. Like Otis said, like, I don't like Christian Bale. Fuck Christian Bale. It's been kept short and sweet. And also, he's also the thing is too though, Dev. Tarantino isn't like us. He literally his words have a lot more pull because he's not just a celebrity. He's a celebrity in that particular sphere. If we came on here and we're bashing fellow creators of color in our sphere, that's bad. That looks really bad on us. So it's a different thing.
And we don't really have the same, like to your point, we don't have the same pull or cachet that Tarantino does. It's interesting because again, I think you're fine giving your criticism, but to your point, the calling him weak and uninteresting and a weak sister and all kinds of extra stuff. I'm like, okay, it's very apparent that there are personal feelings behind this. Because you just saying somebody's a bad actor, cool. You have that thought process. You know what? even to that point, I understand why you think that, because you've been around some of the best actors to ever do it for your films. Like you've had Sam Jackson and Leonardo DiCaprio in a film. So I understand if you're used to seeing the best of the best that are talented as like generational talent, and then you're seeing somebody who's pretty good but not as good as them. I can understand why you think that, but for you to then take that turn into bullying, I'm like, okay, what is this? Why do you feel this? Why you have this much vitriol for this individual?
Yeah, why?
And it's very interesting, and people like this really annoy me in the aspect of you literally you have it all. You're on the mountaintop. You have no reason to spit on the side of off the side of the mountain, but you're just choosing to do so because you have this inflated ego and this sense of narcissism and all these other things. But I don't know. It rubs me the wrong way when you're that successful and still a hater. If you're broke and hating, I get it. You're jealous. There's envy. I understand. But when you are literally on the mountaintop and you're perceived as a generational talent for what you do, why are you still hating?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
I don't understand. In your same field, like you're hating in your field.
Yeah. Imagine this, because y'all both are huge basketball fans. Imagine if, like, I don't know, Kobe in his heyday or what have you was like hating on some random sixth man or seventh man on some.
We've seen it.
Basically losing. It's like,
That happened.
what are you doing? What are you doing?
It happens
Why are
all
you
the
talking about
time.
that, Kobe? You got bigger.
We've seen Shaquille O'Neal's hated on a plethora of people in today, just for the sake of getting the clip off. It happens in basketball a lot.
But it seems. I guess the thing is, there's no. You don't. You never look good doing that. The person who's hating on somebody else, all you're doing is making people more endeared to the person that's being punched down onto. So you're only hurting yourself that much more. Also, for those who don't know, Bret Easton Ellis is the person who wrote the original story for American Psycho. Okay, so Bret Easton Ellis is a person who actually does, ironically enough, does know about some psychology. He's kind of, that's his field more or less. So it's interesting that of all places for him to go, for him to kind of pop off like that, like a psycho in a sense, is on a podcast, a person who actually does know about something about psychology. It's interesting too. And
part of this could just be a marketing play, because we do know Tarantino's talked about how he plans to make one more film and retire. His I think his 10th movie, and we know it's going to come out soon. And I don't think it's as a coincidence that this also happened around the time that he not only had the relaunch or the reshowing of the big combined movie of Kill Bill stuff, as well as having Fortnite did like this animation where they pretty much animated a deleted scene from the Kill Bill film, and did it in like a Fortnite fashion. So like he's been doing a lot of stuff recently. So I personally think this is part of a media push, like he's gearing up for, but I don't like when you need shock value like this to push a product going out. Like you being inherently negative for the sake of garnering attention because you need to get the eyes back on you is just, I don't know.
It sounds very Kanye.
Very much so. It's you know what? It very in the same sense of, for years Kanye did crazy. And I think funny enough, I talked about it on my channel on the stream I did, and my friend made the same comparison. Because when you look at Kanye shit previously with the George Bush stuff, at the awards saying Beyonce should have got the Grammy, whatever it may be, at the moment, everybody's like, oh, that's so cool. He's so Kanye. And then when that shit starts to look real weird and look kind of extra and not needed, it's looking very Kanye. So it's kind of the thing where like Tarantino does his wild shit before, he's still touted as the greatest, and then now he's doing it, and it just seems like you're past your prime. I ain't gonna hold you. Now, again, I'm not speaking to his ability to write or screenwrite. I'd lie if I say I didn't like his films and the way that he goes about writing conversations and the way he directs certain things. I'm a fan of his films. There's not too many I'm not a fan of. I think the only one I haven't seen so far is the Late Night in Hollywood that I heard people say they didn't like, funny enough. I
did you. Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet.
So did Grindhouse.
I didn't see Grindhouse. I haven't seen that yet.
Well,
Reservoir Dogs. I haven't seen Reservoir Dogs either.
Reservoir Dogs is also snooze fest. Like he interjects so much unneeded exposition. Like let the audience actually like try to challenge themselves and understand your characters. You don't have to explain it to them every time.
To what you were saying though, Dev, he very much. This both you said, like Otis said as well. As far as him being pretentious, he loves the sound of his own voice. That's why he likes to write so much dialogue. And to your credit, Dev, yes, his dialogue is usually pretty engaging. It's very different, but it's excessive as hell. It's very, very excessive. Like you don't have to. Like there's no I've literally been in film class where they say like Tarantino, they've shown clips like, look, Tarantino could have stopped talking right here, and he went on for 10 more minutes. Like it's like, yeah. And back in the day, he did have an editor, Sally Minky. I'm saying the name, Sally Minky, who, if you noticed, his movies, his earlier films used to be about a half hour or so shorter. It's because she would cut him down, and she was able to kind of wrangle him back. She could do that. His editors now, his hubris, no, they don't. They can't stop him. So they are too long. They should have been cut down. He loves the sound of his own voice, and it does seem like it's unnecessary. Is it still quality?
Sure, words than the Trinidad James song. I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's one of those things of like shooting your shot. Like, you know, when either you're an athlete or you know when you're out, you know, talking to girls, shoot a million shots, but people remember that one that went in. Because you have infamous scenes like the table scene in Django, like the Hateful Eight scene that like you have those groundbreaking scenes. Or I think you really love the one from not the Hateful Eight, from Inglourious Bastards with Hans Lander in the because like he just writes good dialogue for Christoph Waltz. Christoph Waltz has great dialogue from him, but because he has those infamous moments, people tend to forget about all the extra stuff. Well, the casual audience, I think, when people are looking back in nostalgia. But to your point, when you're looking at his stuff, it can go on and on and on and on and on and on. But again, in me giving this critique, I didn't want to sit here and critique just his films, but more so to talk about the individual. But
right. Well, one thing too, I want to highlight. You showed us a clip of Matthew Lillard, aka the original Ghostface, right? Spoiler alert for Scream. Matthew Lillard has been known in Hollywood as being a very sensitive, sweet guy, repeatedly, right? There was a couple of years ago when he was left out of the Scoob movie. He was pretty open about how he was hurt about that. He wanted to be involved, but it was coming back. He really enjoys doing that character for Shaggy. And so people that know him have always said he's a really nice guy, really, really sweet, kind guy. So we saw that clip of him actually giving a speech wherever he was. And he's like, I was hurt. It hurt. It sucks. And that hurt my feelings. That's also the consequence, or that's also part of what happens with this. It's not just us, the fans, talking about it on podcasts, on YouTube, or wherever else. These are actual people he's talking about. Paul Dano, Matthew Lillard, Owen Wilson, they're actual people. And how would you feel if someone came out and was bashing you openly, you know, on a podcast or whatnot? And because also what he said that Paul Dano was literally the weakest actor in SAG-AFTRA, right? So all the entire Actors Guild, he said he's like pretty much the worst one there, more or less. It's like, that's bold words. That's pretty hurtful. It's pretty hurtful.
And it's tough with the Matthew Lillard one too, because to your point, again, I'm not gonna say I know him personally. I'm not gonna make any good, positive, or indifferent, or good, bad, or indifferent. I don't know the dude, so Hollywood is Hollywood. But from what I've seen and stories I've heard from people that I've interacted with him, he will go to like the smallest of the smallest horror conventions in like Florida or whatever it may be, and speak with people and take pictures for hours on hours. Like, he seems like he is someone who enjoys interacting with fans, and he's always very kind to people when they go about meeting him. So to your point, for someone that kind and that selfless in that aspect, at least, to catch that much flack, I'm like, damn. And then for you to understand, like, your words have power, especially when you're somebody that is as highly touted as you are. Your words affect people. I'm not saying it's like fucking his whole life, but you saw from that clip, like he said, you know, it hurts a little bit. Somebody that good and that's worked with that many greats thinks I'm not a great actor on the same level as those other amazing people that you worked with.
I mean, also, like, this is a reflection of a lot of things, right? Because, I mean, in, 2005, them saying that means that those actors would probably stop seeing roles for a certain amount of time. Saying that now doesn't mean shit. Honestly, it actually probably helps them get more roles because now their name is buzzing. So now Netflix picks them up for X, Y, and Z. Now Paramount picks them up for Z, Y, and X. Now insert Apple, or A24. Like, these platforms see these type of conversations, and wherever the audience is like leaning towards, that's who the studios now are going to support. So if anything, you want to just help them out. So
that's part of the reason why Matthew Lillard's in Five Nights at Freddy's 2 is that he was such an outspoken fan of the series and the franchise. And they're like, hey, you're a good actor. You're a horror icon. You like our stuff? Come be in this thing.
Well, that's why
Simple
exactly.
as that.
The fans were happy to see him in the first one as well. So it may be that because I think it's on. I'm not sure what network it's on. I'm not sure if it's available on.
It's on Peacock right now, I think.
Is it on
I know
Peacock?
the first one's on Peacock. I know the first one is.
I'm not sure about the second one, but if they are smart, like you're saying, Otis and Charlie, if they are smart, they'll try to find a way to say, "Hey, yo, at least show a clip of Matthew Lillard in Friday Nights at Freddy for some promotional stuff as they're doing for streaming or whatnot. Friday Nights at Freddy 2. I mean, it might work. You never know. Why not try it at least? And I think here's the thing too. Real quick, let me say this real quick. Paul Dano was literally given was told about the role in There Will Be Blood. Like I think it was like 2 or 3 days before he went on set because somebody else fell through. He had to go on there himself and do it. And he had to play twins. He had to play dual roles, and he was going up against friggin' Daniel Day-Lewis. Literally hailed as the single best actor of our generation, of multiple generations, right? He has 4 Oscars, whatever it is. I mean, something crazy. Okay. And he's going up there and he's holding his own against Daniel Day-Lewis. To call him weak or say he's a poor actor, that's out of pocket beyond out of pocket.
A weak sister. For whatever the fuck that means. I don't.
That's inaccurate. That's inaccurate. Yeah.
Man. But yeah, Tarantino needs to shut the hell up. And at this point, I'm kind of with Otis for I'm like, if the next movie comes out, if it's like a Kill Bill sequel or whatever, if it's connected to anything I love, I'll probably go see it open tonight. But if it's something that's, a new story, I'll probably see it at some point. I'm not going to rush to the theater to see a new Tarantino project at this point. I tend to try to stand on my laurels as someone who is very ethical about stuff. And if I know art is supporting somebody that isn't the best individual or they're directly hurting people, I try not to support that as much as possible. So we'll see how it goes. But you have any other closing remarks before we move on?
Yeah, I barely go to the theater anyways these days. I'm not pulling up for Tarantino.
Fair enough. Professor E?
No, it does hurt just to see just innocent people catching, like random strays like this. Come on. You hope that Tarantino's been in the game forever. You would just hope that people that have that much pull have some sense about them. So
does he have that much pull anymore? But that's not the conversation.
Yeah, I think he does at this point. Because on a whim, you can get Sam Jackson, Leo, Brad Pitt, Christoph Waltz, insert actor here to pull up to your film at a whim at this point.
I mean, how many years ago was that? How long ago did Django come out?
That was 2013, I believe. Because I watched it, I think, 2 years after it came out for the first time.
His last film, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, got Brad Pitt his first actual Oscar, and he had Leo in there too. So he's still like
he has pull.
People show up for, or people it gets attention.
Directors of his like status with like him, Nolan, Scorsese, like it don't matter how long of a break you take. If you do something, people want to be a part of it because they know it's probably going to be an Oscar winner for him, more than likely.
Yeah, you're a brand. The director is a brand, like you said, like Nolan or Scorsese. That's
what's the box office on that movie? Actually, just out of curiosity.
For which one?
Once
Upon a Time in Hollywood. I can look that up real quick while we're sitting there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, it's more or less it's a hit enough. I mean, also Tarantino's films are not big budget in that sense; they're usually obviously smaller. So it made enough of an impact to get Brad Pitt an Oscar and get a whole bunch of attention.
It grossed $377 million worldwide on a $90 to $96 million budget.
That's not a terrible return.
Yeah, so it's
not.
If you haven't seen it, I'm guessing I know Otis hasn't seen it. Charlie, you haven't seen it yet either, right? You said you haven't seen it.
Just Once Upon a Time. No, I have not.
I've heard a lot of different choice words about like the depiction of Bruce Lee and different stuff.
That fight with Brad Pitt and Bruce Lee was so dumb and drawn out.
I hated that. I was like this. I was already like this. Okay, this movie's all right. And then I saw that part. I was like, pass. I am mad. Now I'm mad. Now I'm mad at this movie. Charlie, real quick spoiler alert to you. It shows Brad Pitt's character beating Bruce Lee pretty easily for the most part. I was like, you gotta be shitting me. I was like, come on now. And the thing is,
I've heard different criticisms from people talking about Bruce Lee and like how most of his martial arts are performative, how Wing Chun in itself isn't an effective form of martial arts, is more so one that is really good to see on screen. Now, I'm not a martial artist. I've only heard that from different interviews I've seen of different martial artists saying it. So that didn't surprise me. That could be a behind the scenes thing in Hollywood that he was trying to make a point of. I don't know. But it's something I have heard though about Bruce Lee in the past.
Come on,
like he's been a competitive fighter, but as far as his movies, he's not really showcasing the most practical martial arts in his films.
But he definitely. I mean, I'll just say this: Bruce Lee was obviously did several demonstrations. They actually did martial arts tournaments. He was known for being on set. He was almost too powerful. They literally had to slow the camera down to capture his kicks.
Yeah, was it a Green Hornet?
They had to get stuntmen, like powerful stuntmen, to hold bags. Like he was breaking ribs, accidentally hitting people. So regardless of whether or not he may have lost a battle to somebody, he was known for being a legitimate threat on set. So for someone, this is what happens in the movie. Brad Pitt's character, while he's basically drunk or high or both, happens to catch his leg like Satoru Gojo, catch him and throw him across like half of the lot into a wall effortlessly. I was like, you got to be to catch a kick from Bruce Lee like it's nothing, like it's tissue paper. What are we talking about here? That's terrible.
I don't know, man. I'm a basketball fan that doesn't believe Will Chamberlain did all the things that they say he did. But that's again, I don't know. I'm not going to speak on that. I would never.
We digress. But as a personal Bruce Lee fan,
right?
I was like, fuck you. I think I literally just took the movie off at that point. I said, and I had to go back and watch later on. I was like, I'm done.
Oh man, but yeah, I think my last remark on it is summed up in this.
Oh, you're supposed to be our number one. Come on. And you're playing like a bum.
Moving on to the next topic we have here, we are going to get into drum roll please, the 2025 Game Awards. There was a lot of drama around it. Obviously, we talked about it in a prior episode when we had Zach on, but as you would expect, a lot of people, a lot of casuals, a lot of gun and ball gamers on the internet had a lot to say about Expedition 33 essentially sweeping everything. Like literally watching it live with my guys over at Blurred Lines Media and my guy the Cyber Dad. Watching it live, it was like if your game was nominated next to Expedition 33 for any category, it was probably not winning. I think it only lost like maybe one or two things.
Did it lose?
Yeah,
it lost. It was like sound design, I think. No, it wasn't sound design.
Yeah, it was
it was something to do with
6 or Battlefield. Yeah, yes, right.
Yeah, Battlefield 6. Yeah. It was pretty bad, bro. I was like, damn, y'all just sweeping everything, my nigga. Like you winning everything. It won. I want to go through a couple categories here, and just to give you guys the winners for a lot of the big ones. But it won Game of the Year, Best Game Direction, Best Narrative, Best Art Direction, Best Score in Music.
That should have went to South of Midnight. That's neither here nor there.
It's funny enough, South of Midnight was nominated for that one. That was.
I know it wasn't.
Yeah. They left us now. South of Midnight. It won. What did it win? It won one award. It left for something. They got something.
It was like the Impact Game Award or something like that.
Yeah. Battlefield 6 beat Expedition 33 out for Best Audio Design.
Yeah.
Best Performance went to Jennifer English, Expedition 33. I'm a Ghost Yote fan. I feel like Erika Ishii should have been. I ain't gonna say she should have won it, but it's tough. I love both of those games, so it's tough.
Which which character did she play in Expedition?
Jennifer English played Mael, I believe.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's the question I need to her, of course.
Yeah, I'm trying to see other awards that were given out. So yeah, Games for Impact, South of Midnight won, which I was like, thank God that game got something, because I felt like it was one of those situations to where you just came out at the wrong year. Like any other year, you would have gotten more awards, but because you came out the year that a generational, like time-defining moment game came out, it's like people that played with Jordan in the 90s, like, y'all probably good, but you play with this nigga. The 90s are defined by him.
It's not that you're bad. You're not bad.
2 rings off.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, because what's funny is the game came out, I think it was April. Was that correct? Around April, right, Dev?
I believe so.
I believe it was April, right? I remember distinctly how, because even y'all said it to me too, how it was like Game of the Year, and it was April. I was like, chill out, y'all. It's April. There's literally 8 more months in the year. Let's chill out.
Nah,
and
gang.
Sure enough, it stuck. It never got topped.
Yeah, I mean,
bruh.
arguably one of the better games to come out in the last 10 years.
So everybody was saying too.
It's just
I played that thing for maybe 3 hours and was like, oh yeah, this is one of them ones, ain't it? This is one of them ones.
It's funny because I got into it. I got into it more and more as the game went on. The first hour or so when they're just running around the city, I was like, this is all right. This is what it is. And then of course, as Act 1 ends, it's like, yo, this is something. And as you learn how to parry properly and get into it, it's like, okay, now, okay, I can't.
Now you got builds and I played it on PC too, so that shit looked beautiful. That game looked beautiful.
Yeah.
Some other notable awards that won, again, best indie game, which funny enough, I'm happy to see that Dispatch was nominated for that. Because again, I love those types of games, and I love that game in particular. So I'm glad it got nominated for something. I didn't think it would get nominated because it came out pretty late in the year. Real quick.
This year for indie games, right? We had obviously the
so the nominations were that Blueprints, Despelite. Silksong was nominated for this. Funny enough. It was Dispatch, Despelite, Expedition 33, and The Blueprints were the nominations for best indie game. I apologize. Best debut indie game.
Okay.
Best independent game. Yeah, it was Hollow Song, Hades 2, Blueprints, Ball X Pit, and Absalom. And then Expedition 33 was the winner.
I got you. But I mean, it's like that's the thing. Like, I mean, it really is like this year with Hades 2 and everything else. There's so many like incredible indie games that cost $30-$40 or less. And that are actually flexing all over the place, all over the bigger major studios, EA and all their nonsense. So it's kind of like, yo, man, this is, I'm here for it. I'm here for that. Y'all know, I know y'all didn't play it that much yourselves, but one of my favorite games. I mean, I love Expedition 33, but I also love Silksong. Hollow Knight Silksong cost $20. I spent 80 hours on it. I loved it. No complaints. So indie games are coming in strong, boy.
This Game Awards really showed that, people aren't just feeding into the slop that the AAAs drop anymore. People actually care about innovation, care about actual storytelling and character development and world building. We care, and we're willing to spend money on the things that we care about because Expedition 33 made $33 million in a month. And then Silksong did phenomenally this year. Made so much money.
Yeah, because
it was crazy. Go ahead.
No, it's Expedition 33. I think it made it sold 3 million copies in a week. Is it a week or 2 weeks? Something crazy. And obviously, like I said, Silksong broke. It shattered the internet. The internet was stopped for 2 hours when it first came out. That's how much it sold. So yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Dev.
And what's crazy is that it's only the beginning because we're about to see a new revolution of Chinese developers now that I think there's some kind of embargo or some kind of trade ban or something to do with them that wouldn't allow them to really get their products out there beforehand. But I think it ended 5 years ago, I believe. In the last 2 years, we've just seen an influx of just Chinese game after Chinese game that just looks beautiful. Now, some of them have a little bit of things to work on. I think the most recent game, God Killer or whatever, God Slayer, the one that was inspired by The Last Airbender that everybody's been talking about. It looks solid, but again, there's some kinks to work out there. But then you have the games like Phantom Blade Zero that I'm ecstatic for, I'm ready for, and a bunch of other stuff there. So we're about to see an entire country of billions of people that potentially have dreams of being game developers that can now bring their vision and their culture to the forefront of gaming. It's about to be nasty.
They've already been killing it. NetEase makes a lot of money and a lot of games that are doing very well, including Marvel Rivals, including Where the Winds Meets. I mean, there's a list. There's a list.
And then also was that, correct me if I'm wrong, Otis, and I believe Black Myth Wukong, a Chinese studio, but they didn't have a long list of. The resume was pretty short as well.
I think that was our first game. That studio.
It's our first game. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If your first game is Black Myth Wukong, oh come on now, come on, brother. So
that game had its issues, technically speaking, and it still was. At least for me, I had a really good fun time playing that game.
Well, yeah, people were upset they didn't get Game of the Year. So I mean, you're doing a lot of things right. And I know you're talking about that God Slayer game. I'm geeking out because I love me some Avatar and Korra. Mm-hmm. So the pieces. I was like, yo, let's go. It may have some bugs, I get you, but it's still very early on. It doesn't have an alpha out yet.
Less bugs than a Bethesda game.
That's not even a joke. That's literally serious.
Hey man, On top of that, there were some games announced. There are two I wanted to bring some attention to. Two that I think are of interest of all of us in particular. One, I was watching the trailer live with Cyberdad in the game. Didn't know what the fuck this was. For a lot of time leading up to it, there was a obelisk that was shown that was like around. Everybody was speculating, is this the next God of War game? Is this insert game here? There's speculation. We found out that statue was a precursor to a game titled Divinity 2, or just Divinity, I believe. And this is the next game that Larian Studios, the creators of Baldur's Gate 3, are going to make. So if you guys are new to the channel...
It's not the same world though, right? That's the idea.
I'm not sure. There's no information around this game outside of that trailer we saw. We can watch the trailer. It's like 3 minutes long though. I don't know. And it's just it was just a cinematic trailer. But it was it was kind of crazy. I ain't gonna hold you. If you haven't seen it yet, dog, it was kind of insane. Like orgy stuff going on, bodies being ripped open. I'm like, yeah, this is on some berserk level shit right here. So I'm excited to see what the story looks like. Because if we get, again, Baldur's Gate 3, but with maybe some improved game mechanics, because I do think that Expedition 33 is going to take a lot of different aspects and it's going to be put into a lot of different people's games as far as that parry system. Like if you could take a parry system like that and maybe squeeze it into something of a turn-based game like a Expedition 33, not Expedition 33, like a Baldur's Gate 3, that'd be fire. Now, I don't think it's that extreme because I think this game's been worked on for a couple years before this game even came out, but I'm intrigued to see what it is because I really love Baldur's Gate 3 and what they did with that game. So a new game with potentially a story that I like more, I'm excited to see that. The next one. Oh, go ahead.
I mean, obviously, yeah, I would say the parry mechanic that was used heavily in Expedition 33. So obviously, not all games can have that much of a parry mechanic. Parries have become much more popular over time. Everything from Sekiro to even Street Fighter Third Strike. Yeah. So it's parry. Blame with Wukong had a very strong parry system too. So parries have become more and more popular. But I don't know that all games need to have that kind of a parry because parrying isn't needed for everything. But for a turn-based game like a RPG like this, to have an innovative system, it is something to take note of. A friend of mine mentioned how my cousin actually mentioned how he saw this as what should have been the progression of Final Fantasy, the whole Final Fantasy series. Final Fantasy has become a completely different thing. We're not knocking Final Fantasy, but the way this is treated as far as a full-blown turn-based RPG that has a kind of interactive that keeps you engaged hard. Yeah, I hope some notes are taken for RPGs.
Yeah, I think, and in the exact way they did it, I don't think it should be taken. But to your point, the level of immersion that was in a turn-based game, I've never seen before. Maybe y'all been around longer than I have and played probably more games than I have. Maybe y'all can speak to it, but I've never seen or heard of a game that's turn-based with that level of immersion where you're so locked into the game because of that parry system and the way it was done. And because you were so like up close into the action, things felt you were a little bit more immersed in it.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to like a turn-based that's completely offline, then yeah, absolutely. I don't think there's a more immersive one. I mean, but if we're talking about like overall, I mean, competitive Pokemon, people get pretty locked into. There's a reason why that is the most successful IP of all time.
I think that's a different thing, though, in regards to the IP being the main, like, bringing people in. Like, I won't say it didn't. I won't say the game didn't do anything revolutionary with turn-based gaming, but I do think a lot of Pokemon's success is due to the fact the IP was so strong leading up to the development of those games.
So, I mean, obviously, yeah, Pokemon is its own mega. I think it literally is the single most successful IP of all time. It is its own franchise. There's no way around that. It's Pokemon. But it's a different type of thing. Battling someone in Pokemon is still a very different thing as far as a one-player battle, like you said in Expedition 33.
But yeah, looking at the next game that I wanted to bring up, which is more a selfish thing for me, it is a game that was announced that I have been begging and pleading for years and years. I think years on this channel specifically. Star Wars: The Fate of the Old Republic was announced. We didn't really get anything out of the trailer outside of in character, which initially I thought it was Satele Shan from the Old Republic games, who was like a Jedi Master on the Council. But it looked like some other ambiguous white woman, and she had a different lightsaber color. So I don't think it was her. But it's a game that's taking place during the era of the Old Republic. So we're getting into the massive Sith Lord war on Korriban, where you're looking at Darth Trait, Darth Malgus, and Darth Vichy, and all those other crazy Sith Lords that were doing crazy shit. Where we're getting to see those, as well as some other Jedi Knights there, and potentially some other crazy shit. But this is the era I've been waiting on for a long time. Again, no other news has really come about this. It was just a cinematic trailer. So this could be turn-based. It could be RPG. It could be an action game like Fallen Order. I don't know. But I'm just excited to get a Star Wars game that seems to be focused on the aspect of Star Wars that I love the most. When you're talking about the space wizard sorcerers, in an era that was predominant for them and the things that they went through as far as this duking it out against each other 24/7.
Did they give like any kind of release date or any kind of information on when it's? Yeah, it's pretty short teaser trailer too.
It was like a minute 30-second trailer. I didn't see any. I'm just looking at the end of it now. They don't really give. They say the fate is in your hands. Wait, this is a day. Hold on. No, there's no date for it, so it's just announced. We'll probably get more than likely we'll get more news in like a year or 2 years, probably, if we're being quite honest.
Because usually if they don't show any gameplay footage at all and has no release date, it's probably at least 3 years off or more. So
yeah, I mean, if it's a continuation of Coder, I mean, I'd imagine it would be like kind of akin to like how the what are those games? Dragon Age games play.
Was that made by the same company?
Yeah, that's BioWare.
No. It was okay. It was BioWare. Okay.
That's BioWare. I mean, I hope it performs well, but it's EA, so I'm not touching it.
Yeah, it's a different age, Dev. It's not the same like back then because it was forever ago when they had the old coders. So it's the world's a very different place. I love playing. Charlie Otis knows. I love me some Dragon Age. I played the earlier Dragon Age, all the earlier Dragon Ages up until like the last one. And those earlier ones compared to the most recent one that came out, they're very, very different games, not the same. So.
Yeah, because those ones are good.
Yeah, I really enjoyed I don't know if you guys played the Fallen Order and the Jedi Survivor games with Kyle Kestis. I thought those were done pretty well. There wasn't too many issues of like microtransaction issues that you saw with Battlefront 2 and things like that. That seemed, at least up until this point, it's the only game I can think of that EA put out that was a little bit more ethically well produced and made. It seemed like a little bit of love put into that game, and it wasn't as much consumer leeching, I guess, for lack of a better term. Now, again, is it made by the same team? I don't know. If it's made by the same team, I could see that. And I also think this may possibly coincide with what Favreau and Dave Filoni have going on now that they're like heading up the new phase of Star Wars stuff. Because I do know there is a show getting ready to premiere at some point that's taking place during the High Republic era. So I could see these games kind of coinciding with these films, especially because we know that Cal Kestis is more than likely to make his appearance at some point soon.
Well, yeah, not in the game, not in that game. Because this all takes place.
No, I mean in the show, like in the live action stuff. Because I think there's rumors that either him or a version of Starkiller, played by, I'm blanking on buddy's name right now. He also like Darth Maul.
Yes, what's his name? Like Sam Witwer.
Sam Witwer. Yeah, there's been a lot of speculation about him making an appearance in this new season of the Ahsoka show that's coming out, because it seems like it's going to be the stepping stone to the major stuff they're trying to get done in the Star Wars universe, of what Favreau and Filoni are trying to do.
It's interesting because the timetable as far as like, because when Starkiller was around, obviously at the beginning Vader was still around. So then Vader, dies off. So in the Ahsoka show, is Vader still alive then?
No, the Ahsoka show takes place after the fall of the Empire.
Okay, the fall of the Empire.
Ahsoka at this point, Ahsoka's like in her 50s or 60s at this point, I believe.
Okay, but so obviously Cal Kestis in the last game, because Vader was still around in the last game. So if it is Cal Kestis, if he's still around, he'd be a bit older. He'd be like 10 or 20 years older.
He'd be like he'd be like his late 30s, early 40s probably, because he was like he was a teenager in the first game.
But he's probably like in his 20s, I imagine, in that second game. At least in his 20s then. So yeah,
I
he's
don't
probably
think
at 40 or so,
maybe.
probably to match the time. Because I'm about the timeline. He can still be around, of course, but just kind of
Yeah.
how he look different.
Yeah, and then so and then to your point, even with Starkiller, when he was younger, that was Vader. I was near Empire Strikes Back, I believe, because you have DLC stuff. So obviously they're not going to make that entire storyline canon. They're going to change things around. But I don't know.
Also, it's in the comics.
We'll see.
He finds them in the comics for a while too.
He has a comic book, but again, I don't think that's all canon, because I have it's in here somewhere. I have the Force Unleashed comic, the game comic that showcase everything. But I don't think that's canon anymore. That was like the expanded stuff. So they're gonna adjust the story to make it work for what they have going on. But
that's fair.
We'll see. Again, a lot of this is speculation, but I'm just excited to get more good Star Wars content, hopefully, because for the most part, stuff based around Jedi doing Jedi shit versus Sith Lords in the Fallen Order, SWTOR, KOTOR, those are usually what would make Star Wars pretty good. And then you have the stuff in there that people like when you're talking about what was the film? I'm blanking on the film where they were stealing the plans for the Death Star.
Oh,
you know what I'm talking about?
Rogue One.
Rogue One. Or I know some people like Andor. I didn't really enjoy Andor too much. But you know,
Andor. The thing is, Andor seemed legit. Like they weren't just phoning it in. I did like Andor, but it's much more. It's a very different, because it doesn't have any Jedi. It's a very different type of story in the world of Star Wars. It's not for everybody, of course, but it's a different type of
strong performances. But it was boring because it didn't have Jedi.
It was much more politics. It wasn't.
Yeah, I think that's the issue with Star Wars, is that the politics of it aren't the most interesting for me, at least. Like when I see a character like Admiral Thrawn, I'm not engaged with him because of the politics that he plays. It's more so how he interacts or goes against the other Jedi that he's battling against. But that's just me. That's me. What I'm interested in. I was enthralled with Star Wars due to the mysticism of the Jedi and the Sith. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean the reason, because Admiral Thrawn, you also don't know, he's my favorite character in Star Wars. Admiral Thrawn works for me because he is smart enough to basically take on Jedi with his mind, but using tactics and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It is a very different. It's a very, very different type of story with Andor and everything else. I get that.
But yeah, but that's the Game Awards in a nutshell. Games that we expected to win kind of won.
So one thing we'd be remiss if we didn't acknowledge our boy Otis, and I love us some. I know I love myself. This and Otis likes him. He likes him at least. They showed a trailer, Resident Evil 9. Everyone and their mama knows how I literally based the character in my flagship book, Slade Nash, off of Huey Freeman and Leon S. Kennedy. Leon showed up in Resident Evil 9's trailer debut. I was going crazy. But here's the best part, Charlie. If you get a chance, go on YouTube and look up reaction videos to a whole bunch of ladies when Leon shows up in the thirsting. I haven't seen that kind of thirsting in a while, man. They are losing their mind. They're going crazy. When Leon, I had no idea that he was as big of a sex symbol in the world of gaming as he is. He's got to be the most, like, he's the Setero Gojo of gaming, pretty much, as far as girls craving after him. So
it's a bold claim, because I've seen some thirsty ass women when it comes to Gojo. Yeah. Shout out Kaori.
She is. If you get it out, let's watch a couple of videos of girls reacting to seeing Leon come out there. It is.
I'll find some, but yeah, that's the Game Awards in a nutshell. I think this year people had different criticisms around like the presentation as a whole. We thought it dragged a little bit, and they had it was kind of a miserable amount of lolly ads in there, like AI games or AI like products that were being put in front of everybody's faces, which you can tell was just them collecting the bag.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, it usually for most stuff, it didn't look that bad. But when you are in an award show where you're bringing up and celebrating games that are made with so much love and ethical process, and then you're showing an ad for this other shit right after the fact, it's like, ooh, this don't look good. This is a bad look.
Yeah, it really was poor timing. It's really poor timing.
Last couple things too. There's a live performance. Old girl from Evanescence. They performed Afterlife. I guess kind of announcing the second season of DMC, which I'm excited about. I love that song. I had that song on repeat for like a smooth 2 weeks after I heard it in I think it was episode 6. I think when they showcased it for the first time. Evanescence, their agent is getting them a bag now. I don't know what was going on with their career early in their career and what kind of deal they were in where they weren't really able to get pushed as hard, but they're collecting some bags right now. They're getting everything.
They had a good little push back in the Daredevil / Electro kind of era when they were on those sound. They were like regarded as the best the best part of those movies was their soundtrack from Evanescence, and that was like 20 years ago or so.
Bring me to life.
When Old Girl came on the stage, she was still looking pretty good, still doing her thing. I was like, oh, good for you, good for Evanescence.
I was really surprised she was still able to project as strong as she was like at her age.
Yeah,
because that's usually one of the first things I hear about from like singers when you get older. It's just harder to put that much energy and project without a microphone. Because there were even moments where she would have the mic pretty far from her face and still projecting well enough to get a good sound into the microphone. So I was impressed.
Yeah, real quick before we go, I know we got to go, but and I see Akira getting angry there. So you're a wrestling fan there, Deb. You obviously saw they brought out the.
Don't talk about that bullshit. I'm not talking about that bullshit.
I was. Okay, that movie looks so self-aware. It's like this is gonna be. It's not even trying to pretend it's not. It knows what it is. It knows what it is.
It looks like
okay, cool. Let's have some fun.
I'm not supporting no shit that Andrew Schultz is in. 50, although he's funny and cool, he's still an uber capitalist. I'm kind of weird. I'm kind of off 50 Cent for real. And yeah, that shit's not AI, but it looks very AI. I'm gonna
watch it because it looks too bizarre.
Then on top of that, when it came out, like Schultz did this whole thing where he was like bashing the cast of the Mortal Kombat film. I'm like, if you got to bash some other shit to promote your stuff, my nigga, I'm cool. I'll let the fans of Street Fighter that want to see that go see that. I'm not going to see that movie. I'm not talking about that shit. I'm not.
So what?
I'm not going to see Mortal Kombat either, though.
No, I mean, I'm not sure how it's going to do. It's going to be wild. I was curious to see how Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, how they looking at it. It is what
I'll watch the niggas on Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown.
I love Andrew Koji. All of us here have seen Warrior. We all know Andrew Koji. So I was glad to see him doing his thing as Ryu. That looks like actually they got a good Ryu for once. So I was like, okay, I'm here for that. But
I have no faith in that fight choreography for that movie.
I'm curious to see how serious they take it. I don't know.
I'm cool.
I can't imagine they'll take it very serious.
If I see better performances from the niggas in wrestling rings, I'm cool. I've seen Cody Rhodes go 45 minutes in a ring with John Cena. I'll watch that before I watch him fight Andrew Schultz.
That was a bad fight though. That fight with him, that was not a good fight. Anyways.
Him and John what? Nigga,
that was.
Nah, gang. I don't know, bro. Yeah, you got that one. I'm letting you live with that one. That was like
John Cena.
That was something that I've heard fans of old and new. Like that was an iconic match that they had.
Pass.
Yeah, you got it. You got that one. I'm gonna let you have that one. I don't think I've ever disagreed with you more on something before. That was crazy, my nigga. I ain't gonna hold you. Moving on to our last topic of the episode. I'm not even gonna introduce this. I'm gonna play this reel here, and we're gonna react to this reel. Because I think we've talked about this topic roughly in a slight way in the pod in the past, either in a POI or in an actual episode. But I'll be curious to get y'all's thoughts on it because we have talked about this in the past. Hold on.
Captain America is a
let me go back.
Movie star. Is the A-list dead? Yes. Who are the top dogs now, especially actresses? No one. Like, I don't think there's an A-list. I think the A-list is dead. Late 90s, if Will Smith was in it, it was going to be a big hit. Arnold from 85 to 95 was going to be a big hit. Jim Carrey, he charged $20 million per movie because his name meant it was going to make $100 million. Will Ferrell could do it with comedies 20 years ago. He's a ice skater. He's a basketball player. He's a singer. He's a race car driver. That's just not the case anymore. Quentin Tarantino said it best where he said, Chris Evans isn't a movie star. Captain America is a movie star. When Chris Evans, you put him in a comic book movie and you'll sell a lot of tickets, but you put him in anything else, he's just a guy. It doesn't matter. Movie stars don't sell tickets anymore. All the conversation about Sydney Sweeney and look, Christy bombed. Was the issue that it starred Sydney Sweeney, or is the issue that it was a small budget movie about women's boxing with no marketing? Oh man, it looks like she can't carry a movie anymore. Like, well, no one can. The Rock can't open a movie with just his name anymore. They did a big marketing campaign for the Smashing Machine, film festivals, the whole tour, trailers playing all the time, all sorts of buzz and chatter. $6 million opening weekend. Emily Blunt was in the thing. 2 different A-listers. Well, what about Sinners? Well, Sinners was Ryan Coogler, and Ryan Coogler is one of a handful of directors that functions as a franchise in and of himself. He's made it into that category. Like, who's the actor that their name alone sells tickets? I don't know who that is anymore. It's so much of, did they pick the right role? Did they pick a movie people actually want? Scarlett Johansson is the biggest actress on the planet. Last July, she had a movie come out that cost $100 million. It was her with Channing Tatum, 2 movie stars. Its total box office gross was $42 million. Contrast that with this summer, she had a movie that made 20 times that amount because it was a franchise. She didn't sell tickets to Jurassic World. The dinosaurs did. Chris Evans is...
So obviously we've had the conversation around directors being the new movie stars. I think we've had that conversation a few times, I think, actually. And it's when I do think there's a lot of truth to that idea. I think directors are a little bit stronger in regards to a box office draw at this point than certain actors are. But personally, I do think there still are particular actors that draw people to films. I think in a lot of the examples that he showed in like The Rock and certain other actors, they are popular people, but I don't think they're necessarily big names in the realm of just acting alone. Like, they're big people, they're popular people, and people know them for acting, but that doesn't mean people enjoy seeing them act as much. I think when you see somebody like a Michael B. Jordan, like what was Buddy's name? I'm blanking on his name now. Oh my gosh, he was in the Lighthouse, Green Goblin. No, not Pattinson.
Willem Dafoe.
Like certain actors like that, people will hear about them in the film and go check that film out. Like Nosferatu was another film that came out where people saw Bill Skarsgård, saw all those names. They were like, okay, we're gonna go see Nosferatu. Now to that, I know you don't. It's not your thing, but people went and saw that. People loved that film. I thought it was a really great movie. I enjoyed the film. Yeah, I know. I think it's a combination of a few things, but
that was, you mentioned The Lighthouse. You mentioned The Lighthouse, and then you couldn't mention the actors in it. And also, when it came, so it's the same director.
You know I'm bad with names, nigga. No. Don't do this. Don't do this.
No. What I mean is that's Robert Eggers. Robert Eggers made The Lighthouse, and Robert Eggers made Nosferatu.
I know that.
Robert Eggers is what sold Nosferatu in theaters, not Nicholas Hoult, not Willem Dafoe, who's also in the movie. I believe it was, again, the director's brand, his franchise. He sold that movie. That's what that video was showing. It's the directors themselves. Like I said before earlier in the show, I mentioned how Tarantino, you mentioned yourself too, Dev, Tarantino, Christopher Nolan, Martin Scorsese, Ryan Coogler, the directors are the brands, not the actors. So yeah.
Do you honestly believe Robert Eggers, like if you went to a casual fan on the street, or funny enough, we could do an experiment at some point in post on if we want to do this. If Otis goes to Felicia now, someone who's probably more of a casual moviegoer, and says, hey, there's a new Robert Eggers movie coming out, do you honestly think she would be excited to see that or even know who he is?
So who do you think sold the movie?
I think Pattinson for the most part sold the movie, because I think he still has a lot of his hype from.
But Robert Pattinson isn't in Nosferatu.
No, it's not The Lighthouse. Because I brought you back The Lighthouse.
You know how much made that movie made?
It's one of those.
It wasn't a massive blockbuster hit. It was a small indie film, and so it had a small indie budget.
What was that, a limited release? I don't think it had a global release.
Yeah, so yeah, if you're saying like this massive,
but I'm talking about how it was received.
Well, so are we talking about reception? Or are we talking about?
We're just talking about people discussing and wanting to go see a movie. If you want to talk about pure revenue, obviously, to his point, if you're putting a franchise out there like Jurassic Park or an Avengers movie, obviously those are going to gross more film. But if we're talking about people being excited about a film and wanting to go see a film, people have that thing where they're going to want to go see that thing. Obviously, a big example of that is Sinners, and that was kind of a combination of things because you have somebody that was riding high in a Michael B. Jordan and a Coogler was announced for that film, so that was a combination of the two. But I do still think that somebody like a Michael B. Jordan has enough cachet to be like, all right, he's doing a film, people are going to go see that film. Now, to that point, I do think it is also very much so dictated on the type of film it's in, because I do think certain actors have certain roles that fit them very much so. Like seeing Momoa announced as Lobo in a Supergirl movie, people are excited for that because they not only love Jason Momoa, this is also a role that they wanted to see him in since he was announced to even be in the DCU at all as Aquaman. People were like, no, you should have been. He even wanted to be Lobo at a certain point. So I do think that's also dictated. Seeing somebody like Dwayne Johnson in the smashing machine, it's like, bro, people go to see movies you're in because you were the big meathead. We're not trying to see you in a serious role in like this. People, or somebody like, at least before all the drama, like a Sydney Sweeney, people fell in love with you because of the type of roles you were in with Euphoria. Now you're doing this dramatic ass role where you're trying to show up like people. If we keep it about, they want to see you for your titties. If we're keeping it 100% of that, wow. In a role where you're probably not going to be showing off all kinds of nudity and be over sexualized, people, the people that are fans of you aren't really going to want to go see that film like that. So I think it's not the same in regards to somebody like he brought up Will Ferrell. You can't just be like, Will Ferrell's going to do all this random shit, but because it's Will Ferrell, we'll go see it. I think now the person has to match the role a lot more now.
I see what you're saying. I definitely do. But so you brought this up. You brought this to us. The video clearly states the dude talking about how there are no more, or how there are A-listers. Yes, there are A-listers. But a star, they used to call them star vehicles as far as movies. Like movies were made specifically for a certain star actor. So, for example, in the 80s, they had lots of action movies that had Arnold in them as a big, tough guy. But those days, I agree with him. Anthony Mackie has a very famous clip on YouTube talking about how there are no more. He said it himself. He's like, Anthony Mackie is nobody. Anthony Mackie isn't a star. The Falcon sells tickets. The Falcon does these things. Anthony Mackie, no. So it's not a secret anymore in Hollywood. Yeah, the actors themselves, even the A-listers themselves, they aren't the draw for the movies. The franchises and the directors are. It's not an opinion. He brought the example of having Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum were together in a rom-com, and it made $42 million. Jurassic World Rebirth, I believe, whatever it was, a terrible, terrible, terrible movie. Like I'm talking like 15% Rotten Tomatoes. It's like one of the highest grossing movies of the year because of the dinosaurs, because of the franchise. So it's not even a conversation whether or not it's true. It is true. Stars, A-listers aren't selling tickets anymore.
I don't believe that's true. Again, to the fashion of how it used to be in like the 80s and the 90s. Yes, I agree. People can't, like I said before, you can't just sell tickets off like at a random whim. I do think today, though, I think the right people can sell a film. I think the right people bring enough. I think they can really sell a film. At bare minimum, they get people in seats to see that thing initially, and then word to mouth carries it to go further on. Again, Sinners being the prime example as far as a film that people were excited for. I think I'm trying to remember back. I know I was excited really heavily when I heard it was announced, but I think mostly Black people were really excited when they first heard about it. But as far as everybody else, it became a word to mouth. Once Black folks started talking about it and promoting it up, you already know once we give something the fucking stamp of approval, everybody else wants to be in on whatever it is that Black folks are liking and whatever Black folks are talking about for the most part. So I think that's a scenario like that.
Like
Coogler
and Michael B, like their star power from like, their past projects. So Sinners, it wasn't in any, like if Michael B was in it by himself, like I don't think it would have had the same draw that if Coogler's name wasn't attached to it.
Yeah.
Do you think let's say we put, because Jonathan Majors was originally announced to be in that. Well, not even him, because I think at that point too, he was still he was flying high on stuff.
Flying low.
It was like a C-list actor that's like known for being attractive. We put like Michael Jai White in that film. Do you think it's as successful?
No. Michael Jai White.
Do you think he gets as many butts and seats?
He's almost
initially
60 years old. Makes no sense to have Michael Jai White in that movie. No.
Hell, Damson. Oh, Damson is also a big name. I'm trying to find somebody that isn't an A-list actor.
Did pretty well in F1. So I mean,
he did great in F1.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to find a movie. I'm trying to find a movie that's not like an A-list actor that kind of fits that similar mold as a Michael B. Hell, the dude from fucking All American. You know what I'm talking about? The other British guy, the other British actor. He's an attractive young Black dude. He kind of fits a similar build, similar model. Do you think that movie does as well?
No.
Because again, I think butts get put in seat because Coogler's making a film. But as far as it being carried on or as many people being excited for that thing, I'm not saying Michael B had like all the hype for that. I do think to Otis's point, it was a combination of the two because they work together. It's almost on some Tarantino and Sam Jackson type of shit or Christoph Waltz thing to where they're a duo at this point where they just do shit together. But I do think I think the number of those A-list people are very far and few between now, but I do think there are particular actors that when it's announced they're doing a particular type of role, people will at least go see that thing to start with and then word of mouth care. I don't think you're going to have as many everybody in masses go to see that thing. I think people, because we talked about it before, how social media and word of mouth carry films a lot more than they did back in the day. Back in the day, I feel as though a movie came out and Arnold Schwarzenegger in an action movie, no matter what the fuck it is, he could be playing a raccoon that shoots people. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger. Everybody is going to go see that thing initially in droves now. Now people wait for their favorite content creator, their uncles or auntie to give something the green light before they go see that thing. Whether it's a show, it's a game. Hell, Expedition 33 was a key example of that, as far as when it hit the zeitgeist of people talking about it, it started rolling. Because that movie had no kind of a marketing budget. And it was that studio's first game that they put out. I think there's a lot of conversation around this, but not as much context in regards to how people consume media now is taken into account.
So it's funny because you presented us with the video, and the video has a guy pretty much saying more or less what you're saying now, as far as like things have changed. There was a time when actors were all you needed to sell a movie. That time is gone. That's pretty much what he's saying.
Yes,
that's the idea. And you're right, though. Yeah, definitely having an A tier, a really well respected actor, because Sinners also had Haley Steinfeld. Haley Steinfeld is actually she's hot. She's hot right now too. People love her as well. So having good A-list actors in your movie definitely helps sell it. There's no doubt about that, of course. But it's not the only thing that sells a movie. For example, y'all remember Barbenheimer, right? Barbenheimer, yeah. On Barbie had Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. Oppenheimer had Cillian Murphy. Florence Pugh's in there for a minute, but that movie still made all kinds of money. It was a Christopher Nolan joint, basically.
Let's keep in mind with that movie too. We're looking at Cillian Murphy and Nolan, who've done a lot of work together in the biggest movies he's ever put out in the Batman stuff, as well as Florence Pugh coming off of MCU stuff.
So Florence,
and then also that movie also had Robert Downey Jr. in it as well.
But what I'm saying is, it was Christopher Nolan. It was the next Nolan joint. It was a big, huge production. Nolan joint. And that's what we're saying here. We're not trying to say that the actors. I know I can tell you think that actors still matter. They do matter 100%. And they can detract from a movie as well if it's a bad actor or if it's someone that people don't like. I mean, Tron Ares is a terrible movie. It's even worse because it had Jared Leto. People boycott. People didn't want to see that movie because it had Jared Leto in it. So
and a lot of AI issues that people were talking about with that movie as well.
Yeah. But it's not the same thing. I remember when I was a kid, my dad when he was a kid, my dad loves Steven Seagal, and he would just say, "Hey," I remember one time in particular, he said to my mom as he was walking out the door, he goes, "I'm going to see the next Seagal flick," and she goes, "Oh, what movie is it?" He goes, "I don't even know," and he kept walking because if his name was on it, he was in it, he would go see it. That's all it took. But like you're saying, Dev, things are very different now. There is so much more scrutiny, or there's so much more access to movies and things of that nature. It used to be when I was younger, all you had was Siskel and Ebert and the newspaper to give you a review on a movie. So people just went to movies regardless. They went in there not knowing what's going to be like. Right. It's not like anymore. It just isn't.
I don't know. I think there's a lot of context missing. Because again, like I mentioned before, there's so many different ways people consume media and review it in regards to wanting to spend the dollars. We've already talked about in the past how much movies cost for the casual moviegoer. For people that don't have subscriptions, that don't keep up with all the deals to go see movies for the cheap ski, it's a big endeavor to go see it. So you're not going to just rush to see any movie depending on who it is, unless you know for a fact it's locked in. And to your point, the only thing that people have an idea of as far as movie quality is a director, because they're the ones making the movie. But to that same extent, I don't think you're going to get away with, like, I don't think even, let's say, let's move away from Tarantino, because at this point I'm tired of talking about that nigga. Let's say Nolan, right? Let's say Nolan puts a movie out, and we'll say Oppenheimer, right? Let's say Oppenheimer was coming out, but none of the actors, the A-list actors that were in that film were in that. And he had nothing but C-tier actors, where it's essentially a Sundance film at that point in regards to the level of people he has in the film. That movie is not as successful. It doesn't get as many butts in seats. Now,
let me ask you a question real quick. Are you suggesting that Cillian Murphy put butts in seats?
No, I'm suggesting Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, like MCU actors at that point in time, people are fans of, put butts in seats for that movie.
Who was the actor that put butts in seats for Nezha or Lilo and Stitch?
Yeah, and it went to my animated films at that point.
I mean, there was Lilo and Stitch is live action.
Yeah, it made $1 billion too.
Yeah, it's a live action movie based off of the popularity of an animated film that was people love with a burning passion.
Yeah, but still, it's the franchise. Yeah, it's not the
it's a franchise. It's a
movie that drew people to see that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm taking. I already mentioned. I'm taking franchises out of it because we already know nostalgia is selling 90% of that. People are going to see things that they already are in love with. I don't have to convince somebody that's a fan of Lilo and Stitch as to why they should come see Lilo and Stitch. If you already love Lilo and Stitch, you're more than likely going to go see a live action movie of it for whatever reason. I don't know why, but people do that shit. With Jurassic Park, we've seen a million bad Jurassic Park movies. Director aside, it doesn't matter who the director is. The IP itself is strong enough to sell that particular type of thing. If we're having a conversation around movies that are not connected to an IP, where it's just director or actor and who's more responsible for putting butts in seats, at that point, that's where the conversation leads. And I just feel as though the casual moviegoer is going to lean more into the actor side of things, because we and most people that see a lot of movies lean into certain directors, obviously. I think certain directors like Tim Burton, people that have been around for a very long time and have that cachet, Tarantino at this point, because he's so outspoken and he puts his face everywhere, Scorsese, I think those level of directors have that, the top of the top. But everybody else, I think, because it's like looking at, I'm not going to put it to sports because I know we have a lot of people that don't like basketball like that. I don't have a basketball analogy, but the top of the mountain, yes, people have that. But when you're looking at every other director underneath them, I don't think they have that same pull. I don't think Robert Eggers has the pull that a Christopher Nolan has. I don't think Nia DaCosta has the same pull that Scorsese has. People go and see the movies because of what they're a part of and who the actors are, not because of them in particular.
Sure, and
the top of the Jordan Peele's, them, they're like, if we keep it a buck, there are probably like 6, maybe 7 directors that have that ability to where you announce that they're doing a film and you're going to go see it. All the other hundreds of other directors do not have that pull. People don't know who they are. People do not care about who they are. They'll maybe look at me like, oh, who made this film? Oh, he did this other thing too. Cool. Or like, who did Weapons? I'm looking on the director's name that did Weapons. Zach Krieger. People love Weapons, but not too many people know who the fuck Zach Krieger is or even how to pronounce his name right, because it could be Krieger. But I guarantee you that because he's doing the next Resident Evil movie, people are like, oh, they're going to sell that as the guy that did this Weapons movie, not just Zach Krieger. It's Zach Krieger who did such and such. They try to attach him to something. That's where I think those type of directors, that's where the idea of the A-list actor gets really leaned into heavily, because you can't market this film off this director's name alone. So the top 5, 6, 7, sure, yes. Jordan Peele, they have that. Coogler, whoever else, but everyone else does not have that. So you making a quintessential idea on the entire movie industry as a whole based off of these top 6 people, I don't know. I just think that's a little disingenuous in my opinion.
So here's what I'll say to that. And I'll Otis. That's just a great movie.
Bro, that is a Chinese film. You have an entire country of billions of people that are going to watch something like that. Again, that's something that's not an honest review. That's not an honest movie to have that conversation about.
So here's the thing. You are saying the same thing, but you don't realize you're saying the same thing, Charlie. You're saying franchises and you're saying directors. The directors are the franchise. So with obviously Lilo and Stitch, for example, it made $1 billion. I have no idea who the director is. Couldn't matter less. It made that money because of it was purely Lilo and Stitch. And also it had a horrible ending. People were pissed about the ending, but it didn't matter. You're also talking about Ryan Coogler, and you're talking about like Tarantino and Nolan, all these guys. Again, like I said before, the directors are the franchise. If let's say for example, it was
those directors are.
Brian Smith made Oppenheimer. I guarantee you nobody would care or seen it, because why would they? But because it has Christopher Nolan's name on it, of course, people are going droves to see it. We have the Avengers movies that are coming out. Think about how Marvel has fallen off the ladder. They have lots of them. Like the last Captain America movie had Anthony Mackie in it. Anthony Mackie is still in that movie, but it made like $430 million. It was a bomb, pretty much. Because
Captain America: Brave World made 450. I had it pulled up from earlier. It made 450 million.
450 million, right? So that's a lot less money than a lot of other movies, and it still has Anthony Mackie in there. It still has Giancarlo Esposito in there. It has name actors in there.
You're missing. There's a lot of context you're not applying to that though in regards to the state of the MCU at that point.
Let me finish real quick.
Yeah.
All I'm saying to you is these days, filmmaker. You keep saying the word casual filmmaker, casual moviegoer. Casual moviegoers aren't trying to see a lot of movies. They see one movie every month or 2 months, and it's got to be good. And it's got to be something they want to see. That's why studios keep pumping out sequels and reboots and other things like that, because it has a nostalgia factor, because it has a built-in IP that people know and like. The directors can do what they want to do because they're big name directors. If you have a good movie that has good actors in it, it still take a good chance. It still may bomb. It's just how it is sometimes.
Again, I'm not disagreeing with that. You're not. The point I'm trying to make in this is when
More
you're playing
context,
again, the context. There's a lot of context missing here because you bring up the MCU with like the Captain America: Brave New World. There's a lot of context around people's view on the MCU as a whole was in the shitter at that point. We know that. So that off rip is that's I don't think that's a genuine. That's a genuine way to look at that in particular, using that as an example. Otis bringing up Neja, a film that is based around Chinese culture, made by Chinese studios, that is more than likely going to get boosted by the fact that people of our whole culture get to see something. Because we already know 9 out of 10 when things that we put over that get to China is usually edited, usually altered a lot in marketing, in the way the film is in general to fit what their government seems as like culturally appropriate. We've seen it with Star Wars and the fact that the black man was minimized on the poster, even though he was supposed to be a major part of the film. Those, I think, are disingenuous to bring up. We're talking about films, any other film that has been popular that did not have attached to a franchise. Because when you're bringing up franchises, those are easy to market and automatically easy to market. Those are going to be successful regardless of the director, regardless of the actor, because you have that pull there. I'm not talking about those. Even in the 80s, I think those franchises would supersede the A-list actors at that point. Like a Predator movie, no matter who the actor was going to sell, whether it was Arnold, whether it was... I'm gonna say Billy D. Williams. I'm blanking on my friend's name in Predator 2. Danny Glover. No matter who it is, Predator is going to sell, even in the 80s. What I'm talking about now is the factor of, yes, you have the top of the line people. It's like an NBA. You have the superstar players, yes. But just because these superstar players are a particular way does not then indicate how the rest of the league and the rest of the field is looking at it. Those directors we talk about, they make movies every 2 to every 5 years-ish. Tarantino only has 10 movies in this catalog, and he's been around how long? Jordan Peele only has 4 or 5 films. They don't make movies that often. What I'm talking about, every other director and every other person in Hollywood that fills those gaps of films every year, because movies still come out. Because Tarantino, Scorsese, because they don't make films, Hollywood doesn't stop making movies. Everybody else makes movies. My point being, when they're not making movies and everyone else and the other 90% of films that come out, the actors usually sell those films. People do not know or care about who the director are for those films unless the movie is like a major hit and then their name gets put out there more and more. I think Zach Krieger is probably going to be more of a household name because Weapons did so well, and then now he's about to do Resident Evil, which is a major IP, which is going to put a lot more people in seats to see what his talent is as far as that goes. But if he didn't do Resident Evil, he did another movie called, I don't know, The Kitchens, I don't fucking know, he'll probably get a little bit of buzz from Weapons if they market, but in doing that film, they market that as the guy who did Weapons, not Zach Krieger. Robert Eggers, yes, he's done a lot of films, but he doesn't have the draw himself to put butts in seats. Nia DaCosta has done some dope stuff. Even in her doing an MCU film, she did The Marvels. They didn't market that as a Nia DaCosta film. If she did Candyman, they didn't market it as a Nia DaCosta film. They marketed it as a Jordan Peele produced film. Most directors don't have that pull. You're talking about a small few. The actors are the ones that usually put butts in seats for every other movie. The Glass Onion that came out, or any of those films, those films get butts in seats because you have all these A-list actors a part of that film. This whodunit film, and it's as far as Netflix goes too, but we've seen a million other Netflix movies that have bombed, even if it's because it's on Netflix. People don't give that a chance. People gave that movie a chance because of the actors that were in it, not the director.
But that's what we're saying. That's what he was. The video you brought to show us. That's what he's saying.
No, his point was because he brought up because he showed a picture of Chris Evans in The Glass Onion. What was it? I think it was The Glass Onion or Knives Out. I can't remember which one.
It was
Knives Out. I think
it was the Christmas movie. That it didn't matter. But
either or, yeah. It was a movie that wasn't that shit. It was one of those, yeah.
The point that he made was that actors are not selling movies. You're saying right now that there's a billion
movies. Incorrect, because he's only pointing at major box office films. When you're looking at every other movie that does, because those major box office movies aren't the only ones that do well. Other movies do well. They don't have the $100 million, but they do well.
I see yes, I understand. I definitely understand what you're saying, Charlie. I definitely do. What I am trying to voice to you, what I'm trying to say to you is, if you simply have an A-list actor in a movie, there is no guarantee that it will do well. Not like it used to be. Again, the reference he made, because he actually had it. He's talking about Chris Evans was in like 4 or 5 movies this year.
A shit ton, actually.
they didn't all do well. There's one that had him, Dakota Johnson, right, and Pedro Pascal. Movie didn't do that great.
I know what you're talking about. I'm gonna check that actually. Go ahead though.
It didn't do that great. And it may have been because it was a kind of a weird story, but it didn't do that great. He mentioned Scarlett Johansson and Channing Tatum. They're in a movie together. Didn't do that great either. Made $42 million. So he's bringing up the idea that yes, you can have successful films that don't have A-listers that are, or they do have A-listers but don't have massive franchise directors or they aren't part of a franchise or whatever it might be. Yes, you can have success, but those are more outliers. You brought up Nudgy, right?
So just really quickly to your point, the Materialist.
Real quick, the Materialist. The idea you brought up, that amazing Chinese animated film. Yes, that's great. It had a huge box office in China. I don't know how well it did here in America because it's not part of a franchise that most people in America know about.
We can check a lot of this. The Materialist made $100 million globally on a $20 million budget. Would you consider that a success?
I consider it a success. But I mean, but Crystal Evans was also in some other movies that didn't do nearly as well.
We can check them all. We can check them real quick. If you want to just, if we're going to follow this, we can look at the numbers of how these movies performed.
I think the thing was, I mentioned that one. I think the movie that clip wasn't from the Tears. I believe it was from Red One. That specific image he had of Chris Evans was from Red One. Red One, I know it didn't make money. It had The Rock in it. It had Chris Evans. It had J.K. Simmons, and it did not do well. It bombed pretty hard in theaters. I'm not saying that all these movies will bomb. Of course, some will make money. Of course, it will, but it's not a surefire. It's not a sure bet like it used to be. That's all we're trying to say.
Yeah, I mean, going counter to the point, like we talked about the success and the engine behind Sinners. We know, like we simply said, like Coogler and Michael B were the main draws for that. Like even having that power that they had, it still made less money than Captain America, which had so much going against it. So I mean, that's just more fuel to the fire. It's like the franchises fuel the box office, not necessarily.
But that's not a new thing though. When it comes to, I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing the franchise thing. That was a thing even during the peak of A-list actors like being in the office. Like we know that. We know they're going to draw those in.
What you're saying is there are plenty of other movies out there that don't have A-list directors, that don't have franchises with them, that still make money because of the actors involved.
If the majority of the field is made up of smaller films that have these A-list actors that do well, I think that should dictate what the culture is. I think people build a narrative off of the small minority of stuff and make that the narrative for everything else. Yes, these few things do well because of what they're attached to.
Bring up some of these examples of movies that have A-list actors that are not directed by franchise directors, or that they themselves aren't big directors, that are not in franchises that do well. Bring up some of those movies.
Okay, so off top, you mentioned The Materialist. We talked about that more than doubled its budget. A lot of it I can get into horror as far as like box office stuff.
Most of those A24?
Is Zach Krieger A-list director to you?
No, with that I think Weapons came off of about people like Barbarian, so it had some steam because of Barbarian, and then also had a really good marketing.
The movie was poorly received though. Barbarian?
What was? It was well received. Barbarian is well received. It's well received.
Good, but you're fine. But again, let's look at we talked about a lot of the big movies this year. We know Barbarian. We know that Weapons did well. We acknowledge Zach Krieger is an actor or a director who is not an A-list director, who his only prominent thing before that was Barbarian, which we can check. I want to check how much money Barbarian made in regards to like it being this overwhelming thing that put butts in seats. But I don't believe that was the case. I think the fact that you put Julian is it Carpenter? What was her name? The woman who's it seems like the fact that the Fantastic Four is out and one of the lead actors from that film was also in this, and then Thanos was in this film. I think that put butts in seats for that film.
She was also in The Wolfman. How much money did The Wolfman make?
The Wolfman, we can check.
Didn't Weapons do better after it made it to streaming than it did in theaters?
That movie did amazing in theaters.
It did well. It did very well. Again, the marketing for Weapons, it had a really, really good marketing campaign. The whole trailer, as far as like at this time at 2:17 at night, all these kids left and they never returned. It's like that's the most interesting hook ever. And it's a horror movie too. It was fairly low budget. So it made
The Wolfman made $140 million worldwide budget against a $25 million budget.
Wait, so I'm sorry, which one was that?
The Wolfman with Julia. Is it Gardner? I think it's Julia Gardner is her name.
Julia Gardner. Okay,
140 million worldwide on a budget of 25 million.
How much? 25 million. Yeah. And how much?
That's oh, go ahead.
How much?
What's the weapons? Let me check weapons real quick. Weapons close 268 million globally. And where's the budget at? On a $38 million budget.
Yeah, so about the same. So
this is what I'm talking about. These films do well, and they're based around these A-list actors that put butts in seats. These directors aren't A-list directors. I think the A-list actor for that film more than likely is oh my God, I'm blanking on this nigga's name right now.
Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin. I put her in that conversation because at the same time in theaters, a major MCU film that everybody went to see, she was a prominent figure in.
So I see what you're saying. I see what you're getting at. I get it. I definitely, you made that point very, very clear. All I'm saying to you is it doesn't have, A-list actors do not have, we've talked about this, we've circled this, beat this dead horse so many times.
Yeah.
I don't think, and it's the whole point of that video, that guy's video. It's the whole point of Hollywood now. I literally have friends in Hollywood that are like, yeah, the actors do not, they do not bring in, they don't put butts in the seats as much as IPs do and as much as franchises do. That's why we have so many reboots, so many sequels, and why there's so many movies made that go right to streaming, because it's actually putting butts in seats in theaters.
I think they do. I think the issue revolves around the fact that people only want MCU level money. Like, people don't, again, we've talked about in the past in regards to what the way people define a successful movie isn't that you made your budget and then some, it's the fact that you tripled your budget. People want that big money number. We talked about The Materialist, a film that you said nobody cared about, that we just saw that was a definitive success. Even by the normal metrics of Hollywood, of a movie that tripled its budget. The Wolfman, a movie that, for the most part, I don't think it was well received. I know I liked it. I thought it was all right, but I didn't love it like that. 140 million. And that was, at that point, Julia Carpenter had not even been nowhere near an MCU film at that point.
No,
and
she
that
was
film
already,
still did well.
She was
already some other stuff.
She was already cast in it. She was in Ozarks, so she had a name. She was already doing stuff.
So yeah, she was not A-list, but to your point, she had a name. My point being, we went through all these examples of films where these actors are the thing. At least in my opinion, I think that's what sold it. Because again, if the majority of Hollywood are these movies, that is what it is. I think people have a narrative based off of a small number of things happening, and it's a small sample size.
So let me ask you this then too. Let me ask you this right now to your face.
Mm-hmm.
Since you've been doing this part of the show, you have consistently struggled to name these A-list actors, and you're a person who goes to movies probably once a week or so.
Because I don't remember names of people. I don't even remember names of anime characters. I don't remember names of characters off the top of my head like that.
But the point I'm trying to make is, if you are struggling to remember these people's names, imagine how much other people are struggling to remember them at all. We all know Arnold. You say the name Arnold, we all know that. We'll mention actors like Will Smith or Scarlett Johansson, big name actors that have been around for a long time. So imagine all the new up and coming actors trying to do things in movies. If people can't remember their names or have no idea who they are or don't care about them,
people remember faces though. I think that's the thing with again, for Weapons, for instance, I think for most of the time, whenever I go see these movies, I'll tell you guys about like who's in what movie, and I say the guy that was in this, that, or the third. People remember faces. Names for most people are really hard to, even for directors. People know who these people are because you see them and you remember their performances. To your point, and they market it that way.
But they can't market it as the guy that was in this. They have to say the guy's name. Like for example, with The Running Man, The Running Man had Glenn Powell in it. The Running Man with Glenn Powell. It said Glenn Powell. It didn't say the guy that was in, he was in The Hitman on Netflix, or he was also in Top Gun Maverick as that blonde guy. It had to say his actual name.
But Ethan, you're being disingenuous because using that same logic, people don't know these directors at all, Ethan.
But they do. They mention Christopher Nolan movie. They say people.
Again, take those 5 people out of the conversation. There are hundreds of other movies with hundreds of other directors that come out every year.
But they don't know.
People don't know those directors.
But the thing is, those are usually sold by the distribution companies. It'll be like Lionsgate said this, A24 said that, Skydance did this. Like, it's still something that people can latch onto that's driving those forward.
Something has to be there to sell these movies.
That's my point. Again, if we're looking at the pie of what brings people in, I think it's to that point just so overdriven and not accurate in regards to the director thing. I'm just
That's fair.
in any other thing, we don't take the small sample size and say that's the field. When people say video games are dead, we don't look at the top 5 stuff in Gotham Knights, in Cyberpunk when that first dropped, and say, oh, because these major games flopped, that gaming is dead. No, we look at all the other thousands of games that come out that are well produced and well made that we enjoy. This is the only time where we'll take this small number of people and say, because these things flop or because they didn't make hundreds of millions of dollars, now the entire industry is this. This is the narrative now. When every other movie that comes out that's successful,
I think you're right. I think you're right, and that's what we're saying. It's not. It's movie theaters is getting people are going to them less and less and less. And what used to bring them in was the A-list. It used to help a lot. Was A-list actors.
Yes, yeah.
And now the A-list actors by themselves are not enough by themselves to bring out people. It used to be. Back in the day, having an A-lister in your movie was more than enough. That was the marketing was literally just here's Denzel Washington and here's Julia Roberts in the movie The Pelican Brief. Pelican Brief, what the hell is that? Doesn't matter. As Julia Roberts in it, has Denzel Washington, I'm there. Nowadays, you can't do that. It doesn't work as well.
I think this also has a similar issue to when you're looking at the music industry, specifically rap music. I think that's also a narrative in regards to not having the same level of rappers, whatever it may be. I think it's just the option of, or the issue of there being a lot more options. Yes. Back during that time, it wasn't easy to get your indie film made, or unless you were going through these major studios or these major people, your movie was not going to see the light of day. There was a small number of films that were going to get made because you had to go through this channel of getting your thing out there. Now, a movie like The Materialist can happen because, like, nowadays it's very, very regular that we see a movie get greenlit or a movie get made because a particular actor is willing to back it. Even in anime, we looked at something like Afro Samurai back in the day, where that anime only got made because Sam Jackson himself vouched for that and then decided to be the leading actor for that. I think that's more what it is now versus back in the day, there was a limited number of space and only these people got to make stuff. That's my point being, if there are so many other people that are out there that are being successful in this field, why are we making this mass narrative on the field when these top 5 people? The issue we're having is with traditional Hollywood and how things normally go, because the mold of traditional Hollywood is failing.
The narrative is out there about that. The narrative does say that people are going to movie theater a lot less. This is one of the things. It's not saying this is the only thing. If I agree, it's not the only factor. It's not the only reason. I agree with that. It's not the only reason. And also, to your credit too, yes, to get anything greenlit these days, it always helps to have an A-lister involved. That's still the case, even if the A-listers themselves don't necessarily put all the butts in the seats. To get funding or get backing from a studio, a major studio, having A-lister in there definitely helps. 100%. Yeah, of course, nothing's changed. That's still the same.
Yeah, I think again, at the end of the day, I think this is a lot of. At least personally, I think it's a lot of metrics that are being skewed, and I think it's a lot of the toxicity of how old Hollywood went about producing a film. I think because the traditional way of going about things is crumbling now, like the fact there's no easy formula. Like, to your point, there's no guarantee that any movie does well, even if you have a big name director behind it. Because that model isn't a simple formula like it was in the 80s, people look at it as, oh, everything's crashing down now because we can't make easy money anymore. We have to actually try to market this thing. Marketing matters a lot more than it did back then. We can't just say, oh, Arnold Schwarzenegger, here, we'll come make a movie now. You don't have to. Now you have to do what you do with something like a Sinners or whatever it may be, to where half your budget, or if not more, goes into marketing, because you have to sell your thing to people. You can't just rely on that anymore. And I think because that is the case, people say, oh, movie is dying or Hollywood is dying, whatever it may be. People think there's this major issue when you just can't be lazy anymore. You have to make the attempts to sell things to people now. No matter movies, music, otherwise, you can't do that anymore.
I feel it. And it's since for a long time it has been primarily that they always say that movies had to make 2 times, like 2.5 their budget to make a profit usually, or to make some money, really. So that's been around for a while. It's not a recent thing that movies have been advertising or print and advertising for their movies. They've been doing that for a long time. I think, though, one of the biggest factors is, like you brought up the idea, you touched on it briefly. There is just so much competition out there, not in theaters, but just as far as entertainment in general. People can stay at home and watch all kinds of things on streaming now. They do not have to go to the theater, so they won't.
Not to mention that's a big factor too. Things getting out of theaters and onto streaming is so fast. I'll wait the 2-3 months for it to get to streaming and enjoy it then.
Or a month. Superman was on HBO like about a month after it was in theater. I think it was still in theaters while it was on HBO. That's crazy. Remember the whole Black Widow fiasco?
How much do y'all feel like marketing money from films have like skyrocketed? Like I don't think, let's say, a movie like what was the movie that Arnold and Danny DeVito were in, where they were like brothers back in the 90s? Twins. Do you think like a movie like Twins had the same marketing budget as something like Sinners? Like two stories that are drastically not attached to any kind of a franchise, but did well. I'm curious. I'm curious. Well, because that may not be the best movie to put that. I'm trying to think of maybe Underworld. Well, do you think maybe Underworld 1 is a better comparison? I'm trying to think of a movie that like compares to that.
We can do this one. Jurassic Park 1. Now there was no franchise. There was no franchise. There was no franchise. So Jurassic Park 1, when that came out, they did have to market it pretty heavily, pretty hard. Sure, it did have Spielberg's name on it, but it didn't matter. There was still so much other stuff out there. Also, there are no A-listers in that movie. Sam Neill, Laura Dern, come on now. They're not A-listers.
Now, obviously, some of this is going to be adjusted for inflation, but they say it's an extensive budget at that point, $65 million. So they said they put a lot of money into marketing to that point. That was $65 million versus something like a Sinners with Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan attached to it had needed a $90 million budget to market that film.
For inflation.
For inflation, yeah, of course. Yeah. That's why I was trying to think of a more recent film that kind of fit that mold. That was still kind of like, that's why I said Underworld, because that was like, what, early 2000s, I feel like, when that movie came out. Like inflation is still going to be a thing, but it's not like the 90s versus 7 years later.
Right. I think regardless, there's always you always had to put some money into, because the reason the Weapons was so successful was because they did a really good push on marketing. There's no way around it. They did a good push for that. Yes, it helped. It helped having Josh Brolin and Julia Gardner in there, of course. It didn't hurt, but it also had Juan from Doctor Strange in there too. But it takes. I think the overall message is it takes a lot. It's harder. It's just harder to get butts and seats in theaters. That's all.
Yeah. Damn, I was looking at Underworld 1. They made that for like a relatively cheap budget. Like in total, that movie was like made on 35 to 45 million, including production.
But we've gone on for 2 hours.
Yeah, I had to look at that. That was my own brain for Underworld specifically. But my bad. Go ahead.
Bottom line is marketing is difficult. It takes a lot of money. It takes a lot of concerted effort. Having people that people recognize in your marketing increases the value of your marketing, but it's not the sole seller of a thing. It has to be like, culturally relevant. It has to be, engaging enough to like actually get people to pay attention to it. And that comes from accumulation of, whatever the premise is and showcasing that, however you're packaging the thing that you're showcasing, and then having things that people either care about, whether it be the franchise, whether it be the actor, whether it be the director. It's just having something that people can attach themselves to, bottom line.
I agree. But yeah, that was did not expect for that to be the biggest part of the conversation, but
I knew it would be.
Glad we had it.
This I love you to pieces, Charlie. So this is something that's come up before. It's something that's clearly is a hot button issue for you. I get it.
Honestly, I didn't think it would be that much of a hot button issue. Like when I got that clip, I was like, "Oh, we're talking about this shit."
No, it's not the actors. It's the issue as far as why movies aren't doing as well. That's come up numerous times.
It's more so just I don't like when people
get back into a tangent. Let's stop here.
No.
Yeah,
I don't.
Closing close to 2 hours.
Yeah. Close up shop.
Yeah, we'll finish on. We'll finish on this. Yeah, old Hollywood and the way things were done, because things are coming undone and you have to try now. People, I just think people were lazy back in the day for a lot of this stuff. I ain't gonna lie, I just think it's a lot of it's laziness. But yeah, before we go, obviously we have to do our daily plugging of our own stuff. That being Echelon graphic novels. For people that are not aware, this podcast is not only co-hosted and hosted by people that are nerds, but we are owners of a comic book company, Echelon Graphic Novels. If you guys love comic books, love graphic novels, we have a pretty wide, varying array of books here that you can get into. I guess the most recent published ones are my own book itself, being Reaper. And I think right behind that is Ina Wisteria, as well as Briarlands, which is Otis's book. Well, the second Briarlands book. Yeah. These are books that done pretty well. We've sold a good amount of Reaper books so far, and as a whole, I think we've been doing pretty well in sales. So if you guys are at all interested in that kind of stuff, please, do us a favor and go check out echelongraphicnovels.com.
Synopsis on what to expect when they read Reaper.
For me, I guess the easy way to market is I'm still kind of narrowing down like my pitch for it. If you're fans of Bleach and fans of Supernatural, imagine a fusion dance of that. As far as this it'll be a buddy cop story, relatively speaking, as far as these two people, and then you're going to have the scale and combat of something like a Bleach and that whole idea, and approaching this as supernatural and things of that manner. And it's just going to be a lot of yeah.
What's the called again? The swords that they use.
The Zanpakuto.
Yeah.
The weapons aren't necessarily a big emphasis in Reaper. It's more so the people, but to the same extent, I get what you're trying to say there.
It's it does have the weapons and everything have their own kind of personality, almost their own personality. It's a very good, interesting flair to it. So
yeah.
But it's not about the weapens. It's really not. It's not about it's not about weapons at all. But the weapons have a nice aura when you see them, which reminds me of Bleach.
Yeah, I think they look nice. I help design them. I think they look nice. But yeah, do you have anything else to say?
Otis, do you have a pitch for Briarlands? I've said my pitch for Briarlands several times, but do you have a pitch yourself for Briarlands?
For Briarlands, it is. We pitched as Gen V meets The Wire, but it's essentially, what if somebody put superpowers into a drug and spread that amongst the people? How would people react to it? How would the world react to it?
Yeah, it's a good book. It's a good series. So.
Mm-hmm. And again, I think I feel like I did a shitty job promoting Reaper, but I'll narrow that down before I start going around and shopping to people. I'll workshop that. What about you, Ethan? You have anything? You have literally 80% of the books on the platform. So what is your pitch for just your stories and your writing style?
No, I'm honestly, if you stop by our page, I'd be happy to have for you to take a look at anything we have there. My favorite book probably on there, the flagship book, is Slade and Ash. And that's basically Rush Hour meets The Walking Dead, is you can think of it that way in a sense, as far as a cop and a zombie working together. So that's it's an easy way to put it, easy way to look at things.
Now, Ethan, are you trying to say Jackie Chan is a zombie?
I wouldn't, not out loud. I wouldn't say it out loud, but
Oh, fun fact, and I wanted to bring this up. I know we're running really long here, but something I found in just scrolling the internet.
I know what you're going to say. I know
exactly what you're going to say. For people that was not aware, I didn't know Jackie Chan could sing, but apparently back in the day, Jackie Chan was the voice of what he's saying, "I'll make a man out of you." Like he was the lead singer for that song in China for Mulan. And he said it on stage. I would find a clip to play it, but I'm pretty sure that would copyright the fuck out of us, and I'm not gonna let Disney clap our channel. But y'all can find. Well, matter of fact, I'll find the clip and just play without the audio. But I didn't know Jackie Chan could sing. He sounds pretty good.
He released a whole actual album, a couple albums. I think he did one with his son too. So that's a whole other story with him and his son.
Yeah. Honestly, I almost prefer the song in Chinese, low key.
I feel like
I am about to take off because I am about to pass out. I've eaten all day.
Yeah, I was just showing people what this looked like. This is like him performing it in China on stage or whatnot. But yeah, just wanted to close on that. That was a little fun fact thing. I meant to bring it up earlier when we just were in a dead space, but conversation kind of flowed. But again, y'all, this has been another episode of the Then and Now podcast. Again, if you guys have enjoyed this conversation at this point, it means you like the video. So do us a favor and like the video. And outside of liking the video, you guys can do some things to help support us as well when it comes to subscribing to the channel, clicking the bell notification that you're now informed about anything that we release here, as well as hyping the video. That's a new function that YouTube has implemented that allows you to help promote videos and smaller creators as a whole. And y'all can't hype any videos that are older than 5 days. So at this point, if it's this video here, hype this. You can't dive back into the catalog from 2 years ago and like that stuff. So yeah, again, thank you guys so much for watching. This has been another episode of the Then and Now podcast with Captain Diesel, Professor E, King of the Comics, Ethan Murphy, the Big Black Muffin, and remember y'all, forever and always.
You're listening to the Then and Now podcast.
That was something called
Then and Now.
Wrong one.
That's all right. Close enough.